Alright guys, so I just garbage picked these two lawnmowers today. This one's a Bolens with a Briggs motor, and this one is an older Craftsman self-propelled unit with a Tecumseh motor on it. This one I already know by their nature. It's going to take a little bit more to get that thing going. This one's obviously a lot easier because these motors aren't all that difficult to work on. So the very first things I know with this, I guess with the first look, is the primer bulb is melted and destroyed. Over time they do that. It's just how the way the gasoline reacts with the rubber, basically disintegrate and start, looking like they are melting, but it's actually just what they do after an extended period of time. There is a little bit of gas in it, not very much. This is actually the same exact mower that I have over here, except mine is in far better condition. And let's go ahead and get started. You guys already saw in that other video I tested the compression, but just because for the video's sake, I'll test it on camera for you guys. And it's definitely got a little bit of compression. Doesn't feel anywhere near as good as my other one does, but this should definitely be a good runner. So, first order of business is to make sure it actually runs. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the top of the air hat off, and then we'll spray some starting fluid into the throat of the carburetor and see if we can get her to fire up. So after a little bit of poke and prod and cussing, I forgot how fun these are to get off, because they're locked down with two screws, and then it's got a little clip up here. So you actually have to remove it like that. And actually no, you kind of move it forward and then move it back. It's kind of a pain in the ass to remove these. But anyways, here's the top of the motor. A little bit of gunge right here. Looks like some sort of grease maybe. That's the grounding point for the magneto when you release your blade brake. So I've already got this loosened up. And let's give her some magic fluid and see what happens. Awesome. So she's worth pursuing a little bit further now. Let's go ahead and pull that carburetor off and the gas tank off and give them a good cleaning. Probably going to have to replace this as well as the primer bulb. Here's a new diaphragm. These are pretty easy to remove. You have 5 bolts that hold the carburetor on, and then you have this little PCV line that needs to come off, and there's 2 bolts that are keeping the gas tank in place. So now with all those bolts removed, we can go ahead and remove the carburetor and the gas tank. But you want to be careful because you still have these linkages that are going to it, mainly the governor spring. That one's off. Just let that hang. And then to get this off, I always kind of just rotate the gas tank. Had to use 2 hands, but oh well. Now that I've got the carburetor and gas tank off, we'll go ahead and pull our carb off. See just what's going on. Oh yeah, that diaphragm needs to be changed. And I'll go ahead and clean out the gas tank too. Take the filter off. I've never seen one this bad before. This thing's coming off in pieces. So now I'm just going to go ahead and give this thing a nice quick and thorough cleaning, and then we'll go ahead and replace that diaphragm and the primer bulb. So there's the old diaphragm, there's the old spring. So I just blew the tank out really well. Now all we have left to do is throw the carburetor back on. Now what I like to do with these is kind of put them back on the same way they came off. That's by angling your gas tank so that top linkage goes back onto the carb. O-ring is still attached. And we'll grab our governor spring, slide it through the hole, and then just slide it back on like so. I always start the bolts by hand. And just tighten up this one. And there you have it. So now, just to be sure that everything works accordingly, I'll go ahead and fill our gas tank up with some fresh gas, and then I'll give it a few primes and see how she runs. Then after that, we'll deal with the air filter. And so we'll just top her up with some fresh gas. Give her a few primes. Primer's working. Start it up. I'm happy with that. Now, these air filters, 9 times out of 10 you don't replace them, even when they look like this. How you service these is they act like a sponge. You dump a little bit of oil onto them in your hand, and you kind of just scrunch it together. As you can see, my hand is covered in motor oil. Any old motor oil will work just fine, but if you replace one of these, you always want to do that, because that's how these things filter out the air. If they are put in dry, your motor will suck dust and air particles into the block and essentially wear out your rings. Looks like just a standard sponge, but that's how you service these. You always want to service them that way. Let's go ahead and reinstall it. So now that the mower, aside from the beauty cover, has been fully put back together, I know it works. The oil in it is actually already at the proper level, and it looks like it was just changed not that long ago. So what I'm going to do now is I have my pressure washer in the backyard. I'm going to take it in the backyard. I'm going to cover up this hole just for posterity and give it a nice thorough cleaning, including the bag. Be right back.